Walk into any grocery store in America right now, and you will see something that doesn't make sense. You will see ground beef prices that have surged nearly 50% in just 4 years. You will see ribeyes and strips locked behind glass cases like they are jewelry. They are priced so high that for many families, the traditional Sunday steak dinner has become a distant memory. Logic tells you that if the price at the store is breaking records, the people raising the cattle must be rich. You would assume that out in the Heartland, in places like Nebraska, Texas, and Kansas, ranchers are celebrating the biggest boom in history. You would imagine new trucks, upgraded fences, and a sense of optimism sweeping across the plains. But if you drive out to those towns, you won't find celebration. You will find silence. You will find empty feedlots where thousands of cattle used to roam. You will find "for sale" signs on land that has been in the same family for 4 or 5 generations. And you will find anger that is boiling over beneath the surface. Because the truth about the American beef crisis isn't just about inflation. It isn't just about drought or the cost of diesel. It is about betrayal. While you are paying double at the register, the American rancher is being squeezed out of existence. They are receiving pennies on the dollar while the middlemen rake in record profits. And while our system begins to fracture from the inside, our neighbors to the north in Canada are stepping in to take our place. What is happening to the American cowboy is not an accident. It is a systematic dismantling of rural America. And the recent news out of Lexington, Nebraska, was the final nail in the coffin for many. Let's talk about what is really happening in the Heartland. To understand this tragedy, we have to look at the town of Lexington, Nebraska. For decades, this community was defined by one thing: the massive Tyson Foods beef plant. It was more than just a factory. It was the beating heart of the local economy. 3,000 people walked through those gates every day to earn a living. Hundreds of local ranchers relied on that plant to process their cattle. Truckers, mechanics, diners, and schools all depended on the ecosystem that the plant created. Then, in November of 2025, the announcement came down from corporate headquarters. Tyson was closing the plant permanently. Just like that, 3,000 livelihoods evaporated overnight. The shockwave tore through the town. But the closure didn't happen because Americans stopped eating beef. Demand is higher than ever. It didn't happen because the plant wasn't busy. It happened because of a cold, calculated corporate equation. Tyson, along with the other meatpacking giants that control over 80% of the US market, claimed there weren't enough cattle to keep the plant profitable. They blamed the shrinking US herd, and on paper, they are technically right. The number of cattle in the United States has dropped to its lowest level in 70 years. But they never tell you why the herd is shrinking. They want you to believe it's just the weather. They blame the droughts in the West that dried up the pastures. But the ranchers know the truth. The herd is shrinking because the system has been rigged to make it impossible for the small producer to survive. For years, the Big Four meatpackers have posted massive profits while paying ranchers prices that barely cover the cost of feed and fuel. They have squeezed the producer on one end and gouged the consumer on the other. This is what economists call greedflation. When a rancher can't make a profit, he doesn't breed more cows. He sells the herd, he sells the land to a developer or a corporate conglomerate, and he gets out of the business forever. That is why the herd is shrinking. It is an exodus caused by financial suffocation. So, when Tyson closes a plant in Nebraska, they aren't just locking the doors on a building, they are abandoning the community that built them. They are signaling that they would rather shut down American infrastructure than pay American ranchers a fair price to rebuild their herds. And this is where the betrayal gets deeper, because while American plants are closing, the world is not waiting for us to figure it out. Across the border, Canada is watching, and they are making a move that should terrify anyone who cares about American agriculture. Recently, officials in Ontario made a move that sent shockwaves through the industry. They rejected a massive shipment of US beef. Over 150,000 tons were turned away. On the surface, it looked like a trade dispute over tariffs or standards. But underneath, it was a message. Canada was telling the world that the American supply chain is no longer the gold standard, and the world is listening. Buyers in Japan, Germany, and the Middle East are starting to shift their contracts. They are looking at the chaos in the US market. They see plants closing in Nebraska. They see labor shortages in Texas. They see wild price fluctuations that make it impossible to plan a menu. And then they look at Canada. They see a system that is stable. They see a government that protects its agricultural sector with consistent policies. They see reliability. In the world of global trade, reliability is more valuable than size. Canada is winning the war for the premium market, not because they have more cows, but because they have more trust. Imagine being an American rancher watching this happen. You have spent your life building the best genetics in your herd. You produce the highest quality beef on the planet, but your own country's processing system is failing you. Your local plant has shut down, meaning you have to truck your cattle hundreds of miles further. That extra cost eats into your razor-thin margins, and now you see your international customers walking away because they don't trust the US supply chain to deliver. It feels like the walls are closing in. The rise of Canada in the global beef market is a direct result of American failure. We have allowed our agricultural system to be hollowed out by corporate monopolies. We have allowed efficiency to become the enemy of resilience. We built a system designed to extract maximum profit for shareholders, not to sustain the communities that grow the food. And now, when the pressure is on, the system is breaking. The cost of this failure is not just economic, it is cultural. When a town like Lexington loses its plant, it loses its identity. Families move away to find work. Main Street businesses board up their windows. The tax base crumbles, meaning schools lose funding and roads go unrepaired. It is a slow-motion death of the rural way of life. And for the consumer, for you watching this, the cost is clear. You are paying for this failure every time you go to the grocery store. The reason steak is $15 a pound isn't because the rancher is buying a new truck. The rancher is getting pennies on the dollar. The price is high because the middleman has broken the bridge between the farm and the table. With fewer plants running, the remaining processors have even more power to set prices. They create an artificial bottleneck. They restrict supply to keep prices high for you, while telling ranchers they don't need their cattle. It is a perfect storm of greed, and it is creating a national security vulnerability that nobody in Washington seems to want to talk about. A nation that cannot process its own food is a nation at risk. If we continue down this path, we will become dependent on imported beef. We are already seeing it happen. The US, once the undisputed king of beef exports, is importing more and more lean beef from South America to grind into hamburgers. Imagine a future where the American burger you eat is made with beef from Brazil, processed in a facility that has no connection to the American heartland. That future is closer than you think. Meanwhile, Canada is doubling down on its domestic strength. They are investing in their own processing capacity. They are marketing their beef as the ethical, stable alternative to the chaotic American product. And they are right to do so. They are playing the long game, while American corporations are playing for the quarterly earnings report. The rejection of US beef by Ontario was a wake-up call. It was a slap in the face. But the question is, will we wake up? Will we realize that we are losing something irreplaceable? There is a human toll here that goes beyond economics. The suicide rate among American farmers and ranchers is significantly higher than the national average. The stress of holding onto a legacy that is slipping away is crushing good men and women. They feel abandoned. They feel like the country they feed has turned its back on them. When Tyson closes a plant, they call it network optimization. When a rancher has to sell off the last of his herd, he calls it the end of his family's history. We have to decide what kind of country we want to be. Do we want a food system controlled by a handful of massive corporations that have no loyalty to the land or the people? Or do we want a system that supports the independent producer, the small town, and the American family? The war being lost to Canada isn't a war of quality. American beef is still the best in the world. It is a war of structure. Canada has built a fortress. We have built a casino, and right now the house is winning, but the people are losing. So, what can be done? Is it too late to save the American rancher? It starts with awareness. It starts with understanding that the high price tag on your steak is a symptom of a rigged system. It starts with supporting local producers whenever you can, buying direct from a farmer, finding a local butcher, bypassing the big chains. It puts money directly into the pocket of the person who did the work. But we also need systemic change. We need to enforce antitrust laws to break up the monopolies that are choking the industry. We need to invest in local processing plants so that ranchers aren't held hostage by a mega facility 3 states away. We need to treat food security as national security, because if we don't, the next time there is a global crisis, the shelves will be empty. The closure in Lexington is a tragedy, but it should also be a rallying cry. It exposed the fragility of our system for everyone to see. It showed us that we cannot take our food supply for granted. As you sit down to dinner tonight, think about the journey that food took to get to your plate. Think about the hands that raised it, and think about the fight they are in right now. They are fighting against the weather. They are fighting against the markets. And they are fighting against a corporate machine that views them as disposable. They haven't given up. Neither should we. The Heartland is hurting, but it is not dead yet. The spirit of the American farmer is resilient. They have survived dust bowls and depressions, but they cannot survive betrayal from within. It is time to stand up for the people who feed us. It is time to demand a system that values the producer as much as the profit. Canada has shown us that stability is possible. Now it is up to us to prove that American resilience is not just a myth. The war for the future of food is happening right now, and it is a war we cannot afford to lose. Thank you for listening to this story. If you believe in supporting American farmers, please share this video. Let's get the truth out there. Leave a comment below if you have noticed the changes in your local grocery store or if you are from a farming community. We want to hear your story. Subscribe to the channel for more investigations into the real issues facing our economy. We will keep digging, we will keep fighting, and we will see you in the next one.